This is the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550. And now, here's your host, Sarah Mosen.
Great to be back here again, folks, and it is Monday. Please keep the phone calls coming. I've had some wonderful conversations, and always remember, I remember like 9 years ago we were I was on as a guest regular with Glenn Meekum, 104.7 in Pittsburgh, and we were chatting about rates being so very low, and then rates were going up, and we went from 30-year lows to 60-year lows, so they're still very low. They're in the 3s and the 4s, and it's a great time to ask the question about refinancing with us here at Mosen, because we certainly can save you a lot of money.
I know, and really, again, we've talked about this before, Sarah. You just don't know how much longer this is going to continue to be where it's at, money being so inexpensive to borrow. And I want to just give a shout out to the veterans, because today is Veterans Day.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yes. So I just want to give a shout out. My son, again, is deployed, and I'll make sure I send him a little note telling him how much I appreciate him. But we just always like to be able to say how much we appreciate the veterans, and I know you share that with me, Sarah.
Very much so. Very much so. Anything to give support and help, and obviously the work that they do, it's you can't measure it, and we are grateful for that.
Well, so Sarah,
yes,
believe it or not, we have to be thinking about the holidays now, don't we?
Well, we do. I don't know. You're probably so very organized with the shopping and the planning and. Yeah,
not really. Not really. I did do some things already online though, and that's cool because you order them and then you get home and there's the boxes on your front steps, and that's good. So I come from a very big family, so there's a lot of things to get. So, but nope, I'm far from being really totally together there, Sarah. How about you? Have you started at all?
A little bit. I have, friends and family, and I was just going to mention, because what I really love about our listeners is they're so diverse. And I was thinking back, and I mentioned this on our Florida show with Salem, Florida as well, that by the time I was 18, I'd lived in 11 countries and went to so many different schools. I loved every minute of it, and then I ended up working in sort of a job that allowed me to continue traveling for a good 10 years after that. So what I love, Pat, is that we have great conversations with our listeners from all parts of the world. And
you know a little bit about all these different countries. How exciting, and what a blessing that you had that in your background, Sarah.
God is kind, and I feel very blessed. I do. I feel very blessed. I learned a great deal from my travels, and certainly from our listeners, because the questions are always wonderful, and I definitely want folks to understand that we're here to inform and educate and give you the facts when it comes to financing. And one of the biggest investments in life, as we know, is buying a home or refinancing your mortgage. So you really don't want to refinance multiple times. Obviously, there are scenarios where you may be, in a situation where you have a lot of debt, and as the new year comes about, you're certainly going to be looking at taxes that you're going to be filing, and maybe outstanding taxes that are due. So you have to understand that there's a win-win when it comes to refinancing your mortgage with us here at Mosen, just simply because rates are in the 3s and the 4s, and you can also decide to take money out. I mean, you can get a check for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 if needs be. And with even Christmas, I think that with it, our faith as well as some joy, you should obviously give to your church, to your family, and the community if you can. And the typical expenses are at least $800 to $900 for gifts for friends and family, depending on how small or large your family is.
That's typical, huh? Wow, huh? That's why so many people wake up in January and go, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay off these credit cards, right?
Right, and I think that one of the things is that people are carrying some of that debt from years ago, because every year you're using the credit cards. And what people don't realize often enough is when a credit card interest rate is at 18%, they can definitely raise that rate at any point. They can give you a warning maybe for 30 days notifying you, but the print is so small that people don't even realize that the rate's going to go up by 3 or 4%. With a mortgage and refinancing, if you own a home and you have been current on the mortgage for 12 months, you have access to additional cash. And that additional cash currently is multiple bills that you're paying every month. So if you're paying credit card bills and auto loans, you can pick and choose those bills and you can get a check. Literally speaking, reduce the interest rate on the mortgage. And then literally say, you know what, Sarah, we want to definitely work with your wholesale lenders because we can get the lowest interest rate and we can get some cash in hand for the new year and pay off any outstanding debt if needs be. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, that would be a wonderful way to go into the holidays because there's a lot of stress and tension around the holidays, though they are wonderful and full of joy. We get stressed because the household is full of people that aren't normally there, and there's extra cooking and extra all sorts of things to do. So to be able to go into the holidays and have all of your credit cards paid off and maybe your loan even reduced, the length of it, in addition to the interest rate being sizably reduced. What is the interest rate right now, Sarah?
Well, the rates change daily. So we work with the market. We have our lenders who literally tell us where rates are. They're much lower than what you would be looking at with any other lender because we're in wholesale lending. We're not in retail. So rates are in the 3s or 4s depending on the term of the loan. So whether you're in a 30-year term and you want to get a 3% rate approximately on a 15-year term, you're going to save a lot of money just from the interest by cutting the term in half. But the big part of it is in order to work with us to get you to financial freedom, we would also need that, certain things, very simple parts of having decent credit. You don't need to have 800 scores. We work with folks who have 800 scores. We're now down to 580. So folks who have 580 and above scores, as long as you're current on the mortgage for 12 months, we are in a position to help you get back on track and focus on the one word that we use a lot of 4-letter words. I don't use profanity, but one word that's really important here is hope. So you always have to have hope. You always have to have that view on life where there is a second chance or a third chance. So we are in that position now to help folks. As long as you've been current on the mortgage for the last 12 months, you have a 2-year work history, we can get you approved and get you into a nice low rate in the 3s or the 4s.
Now, Sarah, what if you want to buy a house new and you don't have a former mortgage? Then how are you judged and whether you'd be eligible or not?
Well, I think that one of the things with purchases is that with a credit report, your credit history is based on things that have happened over the last couple of years, and we have access to the credit bureau. So our reps, our representatives from the credit bureau, work with us to make sure that the scores are raised if they need to be raised, and it is not something that is very difficult to do. And we really are not in the business of charging you for the work that we do. The lenders pay us, and repairing your credit is very simple. We don't charge you for that feature either. We are in the business of informing, educating, and then if you're ready to move forward on refinancing your mortgage or purchasing a home, we can even get you the lowest down payment. So 3.5% down, obviously showing some savings in your checking and 401k perhaps.
And I just want to, just in case our listeners, any of our listeners that might be new, don't understand the difference between wholesale and retail, I always like to give the analogy of going shopping down at the outlet stores where you can buy, a really nice brand purse or brand jewelry or luggage, but you get it for a lot less. The cost is a lot less, but it's the same top quality product. Well, that's the same thing with Sarah Mosen at Mosen Mortgages. They are wholesale, so you can in fact get their great interest rates, even though you may not have been able to get the great interest rate somewhere else, and you may have even been turned down somewhere else with a credit union or a local savings bank. And Marita's saying that's all good, Pat, but it's time to wind it down. So I just wanted to make mention of that and give you a number one more time. Sarah, 1-800-662-9550.
Stay well, folks.
This has been the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550.